A founder and leadership coach of Rise and Play. The topic is going to be about what I wish I knew when founding a new studio in 2024. So please join me in welcoming Sophie Vo.
Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you had a good evening event yesterday and still have energy as we start the day. Like normal morning for gay people. And before starting on the topic, because it's quite relevant, starting a new studio, if some people still have a wild idea to do it at the end of this year. Who in this room is either a studio game founder or is thinking of building a new studio? Please raise your hand. Okay, good half. For the rest, it's out of interest or okay. So maybe considering and maybe why you shouldn't do it. Okay, good. So I want to touch on the topic because I have been building a studio earlier this year and I'm going to that. But why I wanted to make it a topic this year, and before I share about my experience, I want to debunk a bit the myth of the entrepreneur and the founder, because I have to say when I open my LinkedIn or VentureBeat or I don't know what kind of other game press, is really the founder's myth, like the raising of the money is crazy. Every day there's one company at least is raising. I'm following a newsletter called Game Invest, and there's always a company raising a few millions, whatever, AI, I don't know, like less in crypto these days, seed, or the ones that are exit. But that's all the stories that are celebrated and we hear and talk about. And the reality is the rest of most of the stories. I know that because I'm coaching some that are either in the process of closing, some that are renewing, and some that are starting. And a lot of those learnings are in actually the ones that didn't make it rather than the ones who only made it, because most of the time so they don't know why they made it. It's a lot of several factors, of course, execution skills, but also luck and timing. So that's why I wanted to make it a point as well. What are the stories and what can you learn from the rest of the 95%? And maybe you'll be part of it one day, but it's kind of a real story statistically. And to give a bit of context why it's been a topic for me as well, it's been my own journey as an entrepreneur. So I have built 5 ventures along my past 15 years. And I would say already statistically, half of them made it. So 2 are still running. And I'm not even saying that they will survive because only it is the test of time that will say. So 2 are still running. So I wanted to share the journey of some of the startups I launched. So the first one was 10 years ago. And I was, my background is in games. I've been a product leader for the past 16 years. And I was at Google at the time and I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But that was a very, I would say, straightforward kind of dumb motivation. I just wanted to prove to myself, to my father probably, that I could build my own business. So I did it part-time. I launched a mobile startup, not in games, in fashion, in Berlin. So kind of location-based, to find a shop near you, a local design, local shop. It was running for a year and a half. I had we were 3, I had 2 co-founders, colleagues as well with me at Buga. And yeah, we parted ways. I decided to close the company. Main reason, one is the team. We just parted ways with the co-founders, and that's quite a common story, actually in the startup world. And second is my motivation wasn't aligned with where the company was going. I was creating a monster, but it was getting out of control, and I was like, do I want to scale a B2B2C marketplace and do this for the next 10 years? And that means I stopped working on games. And I didn't ask myself this question, but as I went further, I was like, oh, this is real. I got scared and I said, I want to stop it because I'm not sure I want to invest in it personally. And that's also a lot of untold stories of founders, but nobody would say that publicly, like, I think I made a mistake, I went into that venture and not really knowing what I was doing. And then always will rationalize the decision. But I'm telling you, because in private I do know that those reasons are real. Maybe you find yourself there. And then later, it took me years to repair I felt like entrepreneurship is not for me. I will never do that again. I just want to be an employee. Don't think about it. And I did it again, but more with a safety net under Vodou. So in 2019, Vodou was looking to expand into casual games, hyper-casual studio. It was a leading publisher at the time. So I was building the first casual studio inside Vodou as an intrapreneurship. So it was kind of half entrepreneurship. And it was running for 3 years. I built a team of 12 people. We launched the game, made revenues, and all those things. But we closed also the studios 3 years after. It was quite a painful closing. I decided it, and then a lot of things continued. I will not go in detail about that, but the main reason was, well, it was a venture inside another company, and as those things happen, change of strategy, and then suddenly you're not anymore on the roadmap. So it was quite a difficult conversation, or either switching the team to do more hyper-casual, but I didn't build a team to do that. They didn't want to do that, so I decided just to stop and move on. So yeah, that was painful. And during that time when I was building that studio, I had something else that emerged, which is my full-time business now. It's Rise and Play. I saw at the time a gap in leadership resources in the gaming industry, because I've been to now 6, 7 companies, and I always had the same observation: how could management be so bad? Like, at first you go in the first company, it's like, okay, you didn't have time, and then you go to the second. I'm not going to name the company. You can check my LinkedIn and make your connection. And I was always, as I get higher in the management position, because I also thought I can change this from inside. I'm going to get to a leadership position and change. And then the higher you go, and then it's like, it comes to the CEO or the investor. It's like, this is not going to change. So I thought I will probably impact more change by being outside of an organization. And I created that network for conscious leadership, Rise and Play, where today it's my business full-time, because it grew as a movement, and to a point that it was demand, where I started to provide leadership workshops. So I do that in teams of leaders, founders, sometimes even supporting a fund and the portfolio of studios, which is more impactful than trying to change an organization from inside. Or I'm coaching also, this year I've been coaching 30 CEOs, executives, and leaders who at least are aware that they don't know, and they want to create a sustainable business. So that is a business I didn't plan to build, but it happened. And that would be my point here, and sometimes business are created even before you. But then, this year, as I was leaving the game industry, like as an operational person, I was still on that journey, like I'm a game maker and I will create that studio. I started again, like back to 2014, it's like, I just want to be a game CEO. That was also that dumb. I didn't know at that time, but let's put together a team. And at that time, it was also building a team in Vietnam. So I come from Vietnam, my heritage is Vietnamese. And I wanted to elevate a bit the community, the game dev community, to create an impact. So that was also my motivation. Started the studio with 2 co-founders I didn't know. It lasted 6 months, I decided to stop. So yeah, that didn't last long, and I want to talk about that specific venture. And after that, because there's also something to say that, a bit like when you launch a game, it doesn't work out, you don't stop there, you continue. So I continued, but a bit further in my coaching business, and launched Olivia, which is an AI coach, and I'll get more into that. Intersection of what I'm doing with games, leadership, and business, and yeah, I'll present. So I put it in orange because I wouldn't say it's successful. It's not making revenues yet and thriving, but it's not dead yet, so it's still like kind of living by definition. And I want to share then today more like from my journey and other founders that I've been accompanying, what are the patterns, and I hope that you can avoid it. But all that to say that this journey is probably going to continue for the rest of my life, because there's no destination. It's just a journey that keeps going, and I have no idea where this will lead. So as you get in the journey of entrepreneurship, founding a studio, ask yourself, how long are you in that journey? And are you there for just a quick experiment, or are you there really as a commitment? Because it's a commitment. And as I said, from my background, quickly for where I've worked, so I have launched games, built studios, run live ops in different companies. I've been also investing in companies, so I really have a 360 view on the industry. And today, as well, coaching several founders, I have quite a micro view, so that helps also with my work. And those are the companies I've been part of. So yeah. Big reveal. Maybe you know some of those. I will not get into detail, but three of them have been acquired. Rovio by Sega, We Are by Playtika, Gameloft by Vivendi, Voodoo on a trajectory, trying to get bought at some point. And PlayStation have been part of an acquisition where the studio has been acquired by PlayStation. So I've been also on the acquired side. So what you will not get from this talk today is the do's. I'm not here with like my business book. I don't have a book, by the way, so I don't have nothing to sell. And I don't think I'm in a place to advise here because it's the journey of each of you. What I can share, however, again to that, but sometimes we look for really in all those like talks, the silver bullet, there's none, I'm telling you. And also what you should do, because again, I'm not here to advise, but to give perspective, so maybe you can avoid the pitfalls, and especially not how to become rich. So if you think this is the way for you to become rich by building a company, this is not the most efficient way to get rich. I hope you have another motivation. However, what I will actually offer instead today is the don't, avoiding the pitfalls from my mistakes. So as I'm going through the journey, but also working with over 100 of founders that I either interviewed on the podcast. So I have a podcast where I go in a very intimate conversation where founders share their mistakes, whether they're successful to the public eye or not, and the ones that I coach privately. And especially one don't I will leave there today, to rely on VC to build your business, especially in 2024. So maybe there's one thing to remember is this, and we'll get into that. So big disclaimer here, and I'm sure maybe some of you can relate, building a studio company is really hard. Can you relate to that for the ones who are in this journey? Yes? So it is hard, and as I get into here, the top 5 mistakes, how can you make it a little less harder for you? So first one is, I have been also through this journey, it was focusing on the what, and I've seen that also from the investment side, focusing really on the what, presenting basically your game ID. If the company is the game ID, it's all about that. And I made that mistake as well, although I know this, I went into it again this year, building that new studio, Kilan, in Vietnam with 2 co-founders, where our promise was, and now I see other studios actually spinning on that. Coming from mobile games, I wanted to apply the mobile playbook to PC and Steam. How can we put more data, iterating, learning, prototyping to test ID quickly on the market and not have that kind of a top-down concept and that we launch it so on. So that got some traction with investors, and everything was really great on paper. That was like beautiful idea, like great theory, little execution, but that was resonating with investors at that time. And we started to have questions as we get excitement. It's like, what is your team track record? Well, we had none because we never worked together. We just, people like looking for new opportunities, calling online and like, hey, I have an idea, you have 2, okay, let's build a company together. So no, we didn't have any. And also, what is your competitive edge? Well, we have our experience. I'm Vietnamese, I know maybe more of the Vietnamese community. So it was not very strong either. We didn't ask ourselves those questions, of course, when we started. Unfair advantage, investor will ask you those questions always, what's your competitive edge, your unfair advantage? Whether you have one or not, or you believe that it's right to answer, you will receive that question anyway, so be prepared for that. Traction, so that's also the theme of 2024, where 2021 is like, cool, you have a cool team, I like the color of your team, you are ex-Riot, ex-Nanana, cool, and then you have a good idea, go. You take top 2 million and see you in 3 years. It's not happening anymore. Now it's like, what's your traction? It's like, well, we just started. We just a team with an idea. What's your traction? Do you have customers? Do you have an audience? Do you have a team? But those are real questions now in the theme of just even pre-seed investment, which is not set because pre-seed you haven't actually built traction yet. But yeah, anyway, what's your competition? It's very competitive. What's your go-to-market strategy? Big theme of the year as well. How are you going to distribute? It's so competitive. It's so expensive. And again, if you don't have a strategy there, you don't have a strategy basically. So those have been the theme. And then it started to be a kind of a snowball effect because investors, they also influence each other. So they have their own forum where they evaluate the deals. And so we started to get answers a bit too early for us, fair enough. But then everyone said you're too early, then you're too risky. Then the first no, and another no, and over no. I spoke over a course of 3 months to about 40 VCs. So I have a good overview. So I went really on my sprint, GDC and all this madness. And so yeah, I got also my wave of no for that batch. And yeah, it was just no. There was like one maybe, but you know, in the world of maybe is a no actually. So don't hold on a maybe. It's like when you have a hell yes, it's a yes. Otherwise, it's a no. So yeah, that was a reality check. We were April this year, and so we had to sit down with my co-founder. At the time, like, okay, there's something not working with our proposal. And my co-founder was really like, they don't understand what we're doing. It's really good what we're doing. He's like, no, I'm telling you, if everyone is telling us no, there's really something we need to revisit. Whether it's like, do we need money, or in our proposal is just not matching. And the difficult conversations started to emerge because I come from mobile and I said, I don't know if there's really value in our whole proposal. It's quite a big infrastructure we're proposing. Maybe there's something to do around mobile. Maybe there's something around tools to help teams to distribute and go to market. My co-founder, he wanted to build games. He wanted to express his creativity through a new studio and with Vietnamese talents. So you can see already we were going in opposite direction. Because for me, I was looking how do we create business value, and for him, I want to make the game as a creative director. And so what came out from those very difficult conversations is we parted ways because there's no business. When the team cannot align, the co-founders cannot align, there's just no company, no business. And that's, I would say, the main first point as you dream of building a company. If you don't have a team aligned, you can dream about everything, but you will not execute them. So that led to my second, actually, key learning here about the why. And you know, there's the Simon Sinek and other entrepreneurs that talk a lot about having visibility on your why. And I see that quite often happening as well for startups starting, having the wrong why they started. And having the why, like I want to build my own company, or I want to make the game of my dream, is not a good why to build a business. So I want to get here into that where I want to share the analogy of the onion. Some of you are familiar with peeling the onions, unpeeling the layers of the onions. So it's a concept that is very familiar in therapy. I'm not going to ask anyone here in therapy, but that's what we do when we try to understand the deeper layers of what makes us us and where we're going. So finding your why, it's the process of unpeeling the layers of the onion. And for me, it was the process as well where I was going with my primary layer, which this is one of the games I played when I was a teenager, and that marked the rest of my life. Final Fantasy VII, I don't know if some of you, it's your favorite game. Some? Okay, maybe, yes, thank you. Like, I had a kind of a generational gap moment, like, oh shit, nobody's really relating with that. Anyway, so that was one of my key references, and I was like, I'm in games industry because of that, because it's changed my life, and I must be in games, and I must be making games. I thought that was my drive for the rest of my life. And as I unpeeled the layers of the onion, I understood, well, wait a minute, it hasn't always been about games, because I love building communities. And so for me, it's very important to elevate communities that didn't always have representation of power. And so for me, there was a strong calling to elevate a community around Vietnam, from my origins. So when I went in the venture with Kilan, that was actually my real motivation, not building games. That's why with my co-founder, when I was going one way to say, it doesn't matter if we make games, I want to create the impact. For him, it was about making games, and we were diverging on our whys. But as I stopped Kiden, our game studio, I had to go deeper. It's like, is this only this? And for me, that was my studio at Bodo. And as you can see, we were very cheerful, a bit, goofy. It has always been about working with teams and collaborating. So I understood, like, maybe my core motivation in building a company is to be with people. It's not so much about games. It took me a whole journey to accept that, because I was like, I have to make games. But it has always been, and it will always be about people. One thing I'm sure about. And during this year, I decided to commit in that direction, and I have built more events. And even like next year, I want to build retreats for game executives, people in games, to actually take that time to reflect, think about your business, take that step back, that nobody is taking, and to really build this community and creating impact in a personal development, growth, and impact on your business. And that's how I found my why. It was a discovery process. And probably going further, I'll go even further in my onion. I don't know where it will take me. I hope still by that time I'll still be on Earth. But it's all that you say is a journey. So when you go in that process, not understanding your real why, it's a problem, because you will discover that when you have your company, you realize, oh man, I have that company and I have those people, and I don't want to do this anymore. What do I do? And this is a very uncomfortable moment. And I'm also talking to founders who are going through this process. What do you do, right? What's the responsible thing to do? Third mistakes, chasing money. So I hope you're not here in this conference to chase money, because I'm telling you it's going to be quite a lot of waste of time. Or not only, but I'll share with you the experience I've had where, again, I'm on the side of investors, so I see the two sides here, where when we started at the beginning of the year, quite different story, we started in a very bold way, like where everyone was asking, like, we're going to ask $500,000, $1 million. With my co-founder, like, ask something big. Let's be, provocative, 5 million. And we were provocative, going in VC talks and saying 5 million without blinking. And I'm sure the VC were laughing their ass off after, like, off the record. It's like, okay, 5 million. It was too much, completely out of context. You're a team, you haven't shipped anything. You ask 5 million to start your AAA kind of factory studio. And so we said, okay, we take it down, a notch down, 3 million. Okay, we make a discount at you here. And then we were like, okay, no. And then we said, okay, let's reduce it 1 million. And then my co-founder started to get uncomfortable and said, what can we do with 1 million? He's like, I'm asking you, what can we, I mean, it's a lot, 1 million is a lot, it's not enough. He comes from AAA, right? So when you see Concord budgets with 400 million, it's like, it's so small, we can't do anything. For me, coming from mobile, 1 million, it's like, I can ship you 10 games with 1 million, right? So that was already a point of divergence. And then at the end, we had 0. So, it's like all that nonsense, like with big dreams, big budget, and in the end, you start with 0. That's actually the reality of most fundraising. You have nothing. You start with, and that's maybe the assumption you should start with, but you have nothing. So my point here is what I've done in that all chasing money. So that was how I spent the first 3 months this year building that studio. Is creating FOMO, because even VC told me you have to create FOMO. So what was, I will not name that VC, but I was very kind of embarrassing to hear that kind of anecdote. Like VCs, we like to chase companies when we talk about you, like you're that hot girl in town that everyone wants to date and see you. And I was like, it's like a bit bad to say that for VC, but that's kind of what they say among them. Like you are that hot deal that everyone wants to chase. And so you see companies that going in that game creating this artificially, creating the narrative around it to create FOMO. And I experimented with it and I felt very dirty about it, I can tell you. Building relationship, it's having coffee, dinners, being in the right event at the right place, endless conversation with 100 people just to get a foot in the door to get money. Follow-ups, it's a lot of work. Like all these emails, all these updates that you have to send to investors that maybe want to invest in you, and polishing the decks. I think I've iterated 100 times, and all that is a full-time job. And while you're doing this, I'm telling you, you're not working on strategy, finding your customers, getting closer to actually building a business. And that's where it's terrible about this whole model of fundraising. And so we all went all in during GDC. My team created business cards. I was against it, but nevertheless, we had 100 business cards, and now I have a pile at home serving for nothing, so not great for also the environment. And we had our own apparel. That was not very helpful as well, but yeah, hey, we tried. And like I said, we had focused on the wrong target. My whole team was focused on attracting investors instead of really building the product, like pivoting the business, finding the right answers. And so if you find yourself in this situation, please ask yourself, what is it that you're doing right now? So coming to the next also mistakes for this process, forgetting to listen to yourself. That's also something I learned through a process where the reality as you start your business, you have opinion about everyone in the world. Like open just your LinkedIn, so first of all that's that, but also advisors, investors, everybody has an opinion about what your business should be. And this is inevitable as you become visible with it. And for me, coming as a producer, from a producer, I wanted to take all the feedback, put it in a backlog in a sprint and act on it and structure it and do it one after. And then you start to lose your vision. You're like, what is this that I'm doing, this kind of octopus monster that is not even a vision, but more stakeholder pleasing. And the reality, as you build a business, embrace it, it's chaos. Like all the pieces that come to you, you just be okay with not doing anything with it, letting it sit and deal with the chaos. That's maybe one thing I'd say, trying to move away to plan and control everything, but just taking a step back to really have clarity on your vision, first of all, and your strategy. Because in the end, like all those things or those inputs that come to you, what they would challenge for you is your own fear. So your own fear of, I'm going to make a decision that is unpopular. I'm going to do something that nobody believes in, but I, inside, truly believe in because maybe I have special insights, I know something, I'm close to my audience, whatever it is. But you have to deal with that, overcoming those fears, and have, I would say, through this process, because it's an act of courage to build your business, to overcome those fears, whatever they are happening in you, to really go, because that's what I would say a criteria I've seen in successful entrepreneurs. They have followed their intuition, despite the public opinion. They have seen something that others couldn't see, and they verified it. So if you are like yourself in this situation, ask yourself, are you doing this out of fear, or are you really connecting with your intuition? And that's how I went deeper in my business with Rise and Play in the same way, not trying to seek for external validation. And my last point, which I've seen also a lot, is over-optimism, especially if you still want to fundraise, because it's not a bad idea to fundraise, the question is more how much and when. Well, you start to make your estimate, right? So all your KPI, your plan, you can easily divide by 10, because I saw that index, I saw that as one of the things we were planning, and by end of this year, we had a game that had D1 whatever retention, and in the end we had none of that, right? So your KPI, you can be sure that you're far off from it, and so you just be aware of what you don't know as you make this projection. And the same for the planning and the time it takes. We're going to ship in 6 months, 12 months, all those promises to investment. Probably not, because it takes time to build a team, you make mistakes, you probably pivot, so you can double the time that you plan in your planning, so you have your real, actually, numbers. And when it comes to money as well, how much you will raise, you can also divide that by 10, easily. So that helps, actually, when you ask yourself, am I still building good business where suddenly the amount of money I predicted I will have is not the amount of money I have, the time I will have, the resources I have, do I still want to do this? And if the answer is yes, then you have something that is stronger than just because you have money or because you have a good idea on paper. And if the answer is no, it's a quick, hard check, a reality check for yourself. Are you in this journey for the right reason? Because you will have those hurdles. So to finish, I wanted to share now how I've incorporated this in the business approach I have for this time. And I see I'm going a bit over time, so I'll go quickly over that. But basically for me, the who and the why are the most important question. Who I'm building the business with, the people I trust, because I want to make a shortcut there. There I don't want to iterate on the people. It takes time, it's the why. Non-negotiable for me, founders alignment. And that's why I would not invest in a company today. I spot that very easily now, especially like coaching teams. My recommendation, skip VCs as long as possible. It's not going to help you, especially if you don't have a vision or clarity of your market, more money will not help you, I'm telling you. So how can you bootstrap and answer this question for yourself without any external funding? And you can. You're supposed to have skills to do that, especially with technology and AI. It's the best opportunity to actually do that now, and especially building on your strength. So the business may not be what you want it to be, but if you start from the right question, you have to accept what it will be, because you are the main factor of success of your company, not your business idea. And for me, the question that was a hard look, like reality check, was, is making games the only way for me? And it wasn't. So how we continued with my now partner I worked with over a decade. We are building a coaching AI buddy, combining games and coaching. We see where this goes. This is not my primary business, but I can do that because now I have cash coming in with a business that works, and I founded my own other businesses. So maybe you find yourself in this situation and you don't have to spend time chasing money because you have already a business working. So reflection notes for you. I hope you take away from sharing those mistakes today. So who do you build this company for? Who's your audience basically? Who do you love to work with? Important question. Why do you want to build this studio or company? And really why, like the real why, not like the ones like obvious ones. And what can you build when you have little to no money until you get to product market fit? Because when you have product market fit, I can tell you the VC, they crawl at your door. Like now I build Olivia, I have VCs inviting me for lunch. It's like, whoa, that's completely a different dynamic when I'm not looking for them. They're contacting me to meet me. Because yeah, you have something you build interesting, you can execute with a team, and you have traction. It's much better to do things in this order than the other way. And last question, because that business will pivot, do you see yourself working in this business for the next 5 to 10 years? Because if your goal is to exit, you're not going to exist in 3 years. For the lucky ones, but I'm telling you again, it's very rare stories, right? So what is in this journey that is pleasant, energizing for you, that you can hold on to for the next 10 years? Back to the who and why. So learnings for today, start with who, investigate the why, product before investors, listen to your gut instinct, and assume everything will go wrong, because it usually does. But at least you have a good foundation. So building a company studio is really hard, and it can be a lot of fun because I've been enjoying myself this year. You know, I'm not like in burnout or yeah, I'm still here. If you enjoy the journey more than the destination, and that's really an important one I want you to remind at least to take away from today. So thank you for your attention, and feel free to connect with me after this talk on the outside. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Sophie. And for questions.